And this, welcome Rotarians. I'm thrilled that you could all be here. And a couple of things, we're recording this video and it will go into the cloud. We're going to pull it down and put it onto our district website. And I'm Rosie Ropel. I'm your Lieutenant Governor, and I'm pleased to introduce Dan Phillips from the Susitna Rotary Club, and I'm going to let him tell you what he's going to talk about. So here you go, Dan the man.
All right, thanks, Rosie. I'm hoping everybody can see the orange screen that I've got up on mine. So as long as that's working, I'll keep going here. So I had a rare opportunity. First off, my name's Dan Phillips. I'm a president-elect with the Susitna Rotary Club for this up and coming year. And I had a rare opportunity where Andre was able to come out to my house and go through the new District 5010 app. And I've spent a little bit of time. I think we spent an hour or a couple hours here going over some stuff. And I think I kind of hope that I learned a fair amount from him at that time, and maybe he picked up a few things from me as well during that one visit. So I was asked if I could put together a short guide on how to link the bulletin, your club bulletin, into the app, as well as the calendar from Club Runner into the app. Both of which take a couple shared methods, but they have some differences. So I've put together this guide. It's got some screenshots and stuff that you'll be seeing here momentarily. And there's a lot of back end to the app. The app is primarily a viewing app. So for the participants of the club members, they get to see data that they can read, but they're not doing anything with the data on the app. All this training session or this guide is primarily for the admin of your respective clubs to be able to put the data that you want to have appear on the app on the screen for your club members. So with that, let me kind of just welcome you to the screenshot of what the app looks like. And of course, for these are all screenshots off of my phone. So it's going to, of course, show Susitna Rotary for me. Yours would show your club name in this top section over here. And these other icons down here are more of a district level content for your information and so forth. Digging through, you got resources and news and other things. So let me get going into the guide for linking your bulletin and so forth. And so I'll wait just a second for this screen to show up there. But what we've got here is a screenshot of when I enter the main button. This is what it takes me to for all members of the Susitna Club that have installed the app on their phone. You can see we've got a link for club bulletin, calendar. We've got a link for club officers, members, a direct link to Club Runner. That works well for me because it always seems like it's hard for me to find a good, easy way in there. So I can just come into the app and hit that. We have some other specialized content, and I'm not going to get into big detail about that, but just a real brief here. Kim Erickson does membership talks and stuff. So we got Me Talks with Kim. And we've got two different Facebook links. Again, it makes it handy for us. I link in our board meeting minutes after Kathy Tim puts them into a PDF file. I upload the PDF file and it becomes a link in our board meetings from right here within the app. So let's get into the bulletins. And well, okay, so as I stated earlier, the app is for the viewing purpose of all your members. It's a content location for anything you need, whether it's the calendar or the bulletin or a link to your members and so forth. Everything that you're going to learn in this for linking the bulletin and the calendar is all based on the back end to what people get to see on the app itself. So there's a couple parts to this. InfoGrove is the actual back-end database site that controls the look and feel as to what shows up on the app itself. And Club Runner contains a lot of the content itself as to what would actually show up, and InfoGrove is kind of the driver between the app and the content. So let me jump into the next slide here. So this is for the admin of your club to maintain what shows up on the app. This is what you would see when you log into your InfoGrove screen. And as you can see on this screen, and this was just a screenshot, a section of screenshot off of my computer when I was logged into InfoGrove. And I'm going to show you just a couple parts of this. There's a lot to this back end. And so don't be intimidated by it, especially if you're not very familiar with setting up content for others to view, but don't be intimidated by it. There's a few sections in here. They're pretty easy to navigate. I don't know how much Andre and Rosie was working with the InfoGrove people, but they did a really, really nice job at making this pretty straightforward. And so the primary two locations that are necessary to create the content for the viewing on your app are in these two locations. Views over here on the left, which is what I'm showing on this whole screen, and then menu, and we'll get to menu second. The views are what you set up first. And so the view actually is what creates the type of an item in which will show on the Club app. Now, as the admin, you can go in and you can create and test stuff without the concern of it showing up on the app live. You can look and kind of get an idea what it's going to feel like and look like without wondering if someone's seeing you editing content live. So don't be concerned going in here, making changes. If you like them, keep them. If you don't, delete them. But nothing will show up based on what you do on this screen on the app until you're ready for it. So with that, I'll move on to this next section and actually get into how to build these views. So actually I'm going to back up one. Up here in this screen, there is an add view button. I'm trying to move the mouse around because I don't know what it looks like for you guys, but in this add view button, it will take you to the place where you can, I guess I did the calendar first, so we'll go with that one. So to create the calendar link for on your district app, you will hit the add view button. It'll pop a screen up with this content on here. And after quite a bit of work and playing with different stuff, these are the settings that I found, and I think this was part of it that Andre and I worked together on, but these were the settings that I found worked. It inherits the calendar. There are no updates. Once you do these settings to create your view, and then the next step, you'll never have to go in and do any work in the app to have it inherent whatever new content has showing up in your Club Runner calendar. So with that, you go into the add view, you'll need to select your Rotary Club in the parent dropdown. The module type needs to be this specific. There are other style modules, but these are the settings, and I believe that this is all going to be uploaded, so you can come back as a guide later. You can come back and look at this for reference while trying to set up your own. I would encourage you not to try and do it now because you might fall behind and get lost in the guide descriptions here. But for module type, you'll want to make sure it says schedule sync. The module version is 1. Club name, you get to choose what you want it to be. I chose club calendar. And then the access type, track changes, and the state at which this is going to be published. So once you get these settings set up, such as this, you'll hit save. Don't forget to hit save. If you hit cancel, obviously it's not going to work. So we'll move on to the next one. It comes up. Now you'll go back in, and I'm gonna back up just a little bit and show you where the edit content button is, which will take you to this screen. So give me just a second. So you'll add in, and the club calendar is right down here. and you'll hit this edit content button. And that, because this is a screenshot, it doesn't pop up the little link here, but this is your edit content button. So once you do that, then your club calendar edit content will appear, and you'll have a handful of different types that you can select. In this particular case, the type of calendar that is built into Club Runner needs to be that of an iCalendar type. So you'll select iCalendar. The URL, and I know this looks kind of daunting, the URL, you don't have to guess at what this is. Now I've X'd out ours just so that it didn't show for the presentation here, but this would have our club number in here. And so for you, it would have yours. To get this URL, and I don't have a copy of that, I apologize for that. You would go into your calendar on Club Runner. At the bottom of the calendar, there is a subscribe button. This is detailed way over here on the right, where to get that URL. But when you go down in your Club Runner calendar and you click on subscribe, it will give you the opportunity to copy the URL. That URL is what you would then paste into this content URL box. And then obviously for us, we would choose time zone as AKT and hit the save and sync button. All right. So that takes care of everything in the view. Then what you'll do is you'll go back to that original screen where I had the views up, and then I was showing in InfoGrove where you had views and menu. Your next step would be to click on menu, and it will pull up a large screen with a bunch of information on it. Your first step after hitting menu will be to go down to where you have your club calendar now in your list of all your items or your views, and you'll hit the plus sign to add this into your menu, which will then appear as a menu item to put and organize for your district app page. When you click the plus sign, there appears to be nothing taking place. It doesn't flash on the screen. It doesn't pop up anything. You just have to know that you've clicked it. But then when you scroll to the bottom of the screen, and I'm going to show you that next, when you scroll to the bottom of the screen, there was a lot of content. Let me step back just a little bit. There was a lot of content on this particular screen. For me to show you all that content would be overwhelming for the purposes of this guide and for this session. So I've broken this up into pieces of importance. And so when you see it yourself on your menu, you're going to see a way more encompassing amount of stuff. To simplify it for the purposes of this, I grabbed the sections and tried to demonstrate what it would look like. So at the bottom, having hit the plus sign on Club Calendar, at the bottom of that screen, you will see Club Calendar appears underneath all of these other items. What you need to do is drag it up into your section. And so you'll click and drag this screen up, and over here, you'll see where it's starting to move up. You'll then find it up into your menu, and here is the list of all the things that I showed back on that early screen of my app. These are all the different menu items that we have available for our members to click on. Club Calendar is now in this list. I kind of tried to put them, it's not necessarily a list of importance, but you can drag them around in whatever order you wish them to appear on your Club app screen. So lastly, you can go in and you can hit the edit button right here and choose an icon. All of these have an icon. I've chosen an icon for each one of our entries.
Get off his back. I'm starting to feel sorry for you.
Let's see who's on this call with him. Participant.
Is there someone else asking a question there? Okay, so I've chosen an icon for each of our menu items. Once you're done with that, you're done in the menu builder, but you do need to remember to go to the bottom of the screen and hit the save button. If you don't hit the save button, everything you've just done here will not be saved, even if you hit the back menu or anything else. So you do need to hit the save button after you've created the menu. So don't forget to hit save. All right. The club bulletin is a little bit different. That takes care of the club calendar, by the way. Your calendar is done. It is now part of the app, and it will appear for everything and anything that gets added, deleted, or whatever within the Club Runner calendar will automatically be synchronized in the app. The synchronization is not an absolute instantaneous synchronization. So if you make a change in the club calendar and then you jump very rapidly into your app and go look, you may find that that change has not appeared yet. Give it a little bit of time. It's not absolutely instantaneous, as that would be an overwhelming bandwidth hog. So give it just a little bit, but it is pretty fast. So as long as you have a few minutes before you're expecting it to show up, it'll show up. So for doing the club bulletin, it is largely the same process as doing the calendar. You'll create a view, you'll create a menu. The differences in the club bulletin are subtle. The module type is different. You'll still select your parent Rotary. You'll still select a module type, but in this case, and this is again how it works. I don't know if anyone was on the earlier presentation that Liz Stanley and Cheryl were presenting, but there was a section in there after she emails out the club bulletin, and we will use the URL that is within that email. It will get tied into the module type of external URL here, and I'll show you that soon. So you go through your view and you set these same settings as I've got here for yourself. Again, with the only difference being this, it'll be your club under parent, and it'll be whatever the verbiage is you want to have appear as your menu name. So again, I put in club bulletin. Don't forget to hit save. And then in the, and this is where it differs a little bit from the calendar. You need to go acquire the URL from your email, and you only have to do this, well, you need to do this with each and every new bulletin that comes out. That's the primary difference between the bulletin and the calendar. The calendar inherits all the changes that take place whenever someone adds something to your Club Runner calendar. However, on the bulletin, because it is looking at an external URL that would appear by clicking in your email, and at the top of your email, it has this little line where it says if you're having trouble with viewing the email, you can click here. Well, it's actually pretty nice that they put that there, because even though you're not having trouble viewing it, if you click there, you will get this great big long URL, which you'd really only be able to copy and paste. There's just too many places for errors if you were to try and do it any other way. But you will pull in where that edit content was, and you'll paste that URL into this location. You can choose to have it open in an external browser or not. I choose to keep it within the app. And so I have it selected as not to open an external browser. Once you hit save, then that bulletin is now available from the district app by simply clicking your club bulletin link. When you get a new email, as for us, Liz sends out our club bulletins every Sunday, whether she does it as a schedule it now or schedule it for being distributed later, they always come out on Sunday for us. So sometime tomorrow, when I get the opportunity to see the email that she sent out, I will then go into the email, click on this, and pull the URL off of there and edit the content in InfoGrove for my club bulletin, pop this new URL in there, hit save. It's that easy. There is only one step for the district app or the club app admin to do to get the club bulletin to pull in. The club bulletin, of course, still shows up in your email, but whoever your admin is does need to edit this content for club bulletin for it to show live through the app. So with that, I think I've actually covered, and I know that was kind of quick, but I think I've covered all the parts and pieces. So one more piece of background is I have been writing software for a great many years, and I tend to gloss over some things that to me seem either obvious or easy. So if there's steps in here that look like they're missed, it might be because I've missed them glossing over them. So if anyone has any questions now or later, please feel free to get a hold of me and I can go through it either live with them or help them in any other way that I can. I'm usually pretty good at walking through people with Lexi. So
No wonder you wanted to play it that way. Sneaky little buggers.
Yeah, this is George. I do have a question.
Quirky too.
But it sounds like we've got several people on right now.
I'm going to allow Rosie to take care of the hosting part of Zoom. So she's kind of the Zoom master as far as I can tell. And so I'll let her mute and unmute as it works for you guys.
I think if someone wants to speak, unmute yourself.
That's
And
me, George. I'd like to ask a question.
Sure, George.
You lost me on very step one because I had my cell phone with me just to check it. And as you said, open up the app. I opened up the app. First thing was it didn't look like yours after I signed in. Second thing is when I go to the other place I had to look close to go to is something that said club, and our club isn't listed there. So is there something that is missing that we don't have for our club that we're not tied into the app?
So firstly, George, are you the admin for the app or a club member trying to view what's already been set up by your admin on your app?
I'm a club member, but I'm also be wanting to put things on the app.
Okay, so one of the things that happens, and I believe Andre's on here and he's really familiar as is Rosie with this, but there is a login procedure. It's not a full username password, but at the first time you open the app after having downloaded it to your phone, there is a place for which you will enter your name. And it's been a while since I've done this, so I apologize for not having that information perfect in front of me here. But you'll put your name in there and it will link you to your club. When you pop up the next step, it asks which club you're a member of. I don't remember the exact order of that, but it's...
That's what I did on screen one. It said full name, so I gave first and last name and your club. I did that. And when I hit OK, it looks exactly like that, except the name of the club is not on the top. There's nothing there.
okay, may I speak to that?
Yes.
Okay, so there were 5 clubs that were the trials, and then after that, each club had to pay $100, and the district matched it because it wasn't free for us to get this. And so if your club wants to have you want to have your club in the app, if you pay the $100 or just tell Andre that you want to do that, he actually has to set it up for you.
Okay, so we just need to check with the board and see what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's part of the problem that people don't understand, I think. So
George, I can tell you just from, I'm going to jump to this next screen, just, from our usage and for my usage specifically, my access to getting into Club Runner and some of the other stuff has actually been enhanced by the aid of this app. I find it very handy. Now, out of just a small concern for privacy, I chose not to put our club members' screenshot up because it would have everybody's name and so forth. But you'll have access to club members' names, emails, and phone numbers from within that. If you click on their phone number, it will allow you to text directly from there. It pulls the phone number into your texting app on your phone. It just makes it really handy. There's a lot of content in here. So if you're not yet a subscribed member for the app, I would encourage you to talk to your board and see if that's something that they would be happy to try and take on. It's a very small fee, and I don't want to overstep Andre here, but I find it very worthwhile. Our club adopted it. I did a presentation at our club meeting a while back, and I think it was pretty well received. I haven't had a lot of people ask me too many things about it because it's pretty straightforward. It's not an app where you have to go in and do stuff. It just simply gives you information. So I would encourage you to take that step with your board and see what they say.
So something, who's that? One thing that I would say, once you get your app set up the way you want, he's really got his set up well. Our club is set up pretty well too, but it's kind of, I grew with this app. So I've been helping other people, but man, your presentation today would really help people if we could send this out to the folks, if you're willing to do that. Because then they could take it slide by slide as they're trying to go into their particular, I call it the back room, but it's Infogrove. So I think it would be well worth your time. One thing I do know that when you bring all your members over from Club Runner and you bring them in and put them into your app, that's how all those names get in there. At that point, I don't know how you're doing, Dan, but I have to go in and delete people that have moved or quit and add in the new people. And I try to get their cell phones in instead of their regular phones, because when we're out on the streets, like probably next year, doing our duck race, we want to call each other during the parade and find out where everybody is. We can use our apps on our phone to locate each other by calling them.
So yeah, having those club members in there, and when you get to where you're an admin and you're in the Infogrove, there's a couple places, or two places exactly, where there are the list of names. One is the authentication means for getting into the app itself. The other is what shows up as club members, as you see on the screen here. If you were to click that link, it'll take you to your club members. They are different in nature, and I do also go in and edit that content as necessary with incoming new members. And so I think I can say I've only had to do a few of those. It's we haven't been using the app for very long, so we haven't had a lot of member movement since then. But it again is a very straightforward method of selecting that stuff. The other thing that I'll add in is that I've chosen to add a few extra things like the board meeting minutes. I actually upload the PDF file that Kathy Tim creates for our board after it's done, and I upload those PDFs. Those are there, and I don't get rid of the old ones. We can go back and look at historical board meeting minutes. This is available to all the members. So if you couldn't make a board meeting, you can go in there and see what the minutes were from that board meeting. It's a super easy place. Everything you need is done through this per how your admin has helped set it up. And there's really not a limitation that I can see to the app other than just your imagination as to what kind of content you would like to have in here. If there is another kind of a calendar that you wanted to add in beyond the Club Runner, you can do that with this app. You can create another view and another menu entry. You really aren't limited to showing just this content on there. The app is very flexible to add a multitude of content for viewing purposes to your members.
We have a couple questions here. Kathy Tim said, did everyone buy the app? Okay, so basically anybody can download the app, and it doesn't matter if you have an iPhone or an Android. because it's on both the app stores. And but not everybody in your club has to buy the program for your club. Your club buys it once, everybody gets access to it. And then Kathy says, Dan, would you recommend only one admin, or are there several admins for the different sections?
Well, so to answer Kathy's question about whether a single admin or multiple admins is a good choice, that kind of falls to, I suppose, the selection of the admin. I have selected Rob Grogan as an additional admin such that he could go in and modify content in the case that I'm not available. Now, again, because we're still a little bit new at this, I haven't had a lot of time to spend with Rob to show him how he could go in and edit the club bulletin as an example. That's an item that needs to be edited with every new bulletin that comes out. And so we haven't taken advantage of multiple admins, but I would encourage at least one other person to be able to do that, just to help offset that load should someone else be busy or something.
This is Martin Klein. I guess I'll add to that. At Sunrisers, we had multiple admins, and it was also helpful because you had somebody else who was helping you figure out the problems. Trying to figure it out on yourself, sometimes you get stumped, or you're starting to think just one way, and all of a sudden the other admin says, oh, no, I did this and it worked. So my recommendation would be have a couple of people to work together as a team.
That's awesome, Martin.
It always helps to bounce ideas off someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a little pressure off of Andre because he's pretty busy right now, as you know. He's having all those meetings, etc. And I can help too. And you probably get a hold of Dan anytime, Dan, or.
So yeah, I don't know where all my cell phone number appears within Club Runner, because I can actually attest to I'm not a Club Runner expert either. That's why I put a link in here that made it easier for me to get into Club Runner.
So Dan, my question on that, when you made that view, what type of module type did you set for that?
Well, I will have to dig that up. I don't have that in front of me right now, and I can't see that within the app. I got to go into InfoGrove. Right. So I'll have to get that back up. If I could get your contact information, I can get that back to you. I believe that was much like the Club Bulletin, where it was an external URL that I viewed within the app.
So along that same line, the other thing I haven't quite yet figured out how to do is, if in Club Runner you can put in, you say you have a speaker or an upcoming program, you can put in a link, and the person can click on the link to maybe go see that person's business or their website or what. And if that when that information club comes into the app, the links don't work. I'm wondering if anybody's figured out how to do that.
Club Runner's link system is actually a fairly complex linking system. Their URLs are changing quite often. And so what I did as an example, because I ran into a similar issue, the Club Runner link that appears on this screen here within the app takes me into the section of Club Runner that always works. It's the head of the Club Runner portion for our club. And once I'm in there, then of course all the links work, because it's as if you just logged into it from your regular web browser. And so I kind of tried to alleviate some of that issue by treating it this way for me, because I had trouble linking to specific things and trying to pull all those specific different areas into here. Club calendar, Club Bulletin, Club Runner, technically those are all links into the Club Runner area. Those three I've found how to make work. Club Calendar and Club Runner never change for me. The Club Bulletin does with each new bulletin. I actually watched Liz's deal primarily not to see how she builds the bulletins, because I don't plan on building the bulletins myself. Fortunately, I have Liz, but I was looking for a method or how it was working to see if there was some way of stopping the URL from changing within Club Runner. And once I'm in there, then of course all the links work, because it's as if you just logged into it from your regular web browser. And so I kind of tried to alleviate some of that issue by treating it this way for me, because I had trouble linking to specific things and trying to pull all those specific different areas into here. Club Calendar, Club Bulletin, Club Runner, never change for me. The Club Bulletin I would like for Club Runner to not change the Club Bulletin URL, but to show the new content and then archive the old bulletins. But that's not within the power of the 5010 Club app. That's how Club Runner works, and I'm going to work with how it has to work.
Thanks. That was real helpful. Great program, by the way.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has any questions? All right, Rosie.
All right. Okay, I guess well, if anybody has a last minute question, everybody's thanking you. Nice job, Dan. So I'm gonna stop the recording and